The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oh my gosh, we're back. Welcome back from Motionsoft's corporate office in Rockville, Maryland. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for a lively discussion with Listen 360's Katie Bossy on best practices for using member feedback in your health or fitness business. It is a pleasure to welcome you for the start of the 2018 Motionsoft Technology Summit webinar series. And the Motionsoft Technology Summit webinar series is an industry event that brings together some really smart people from across the industry to talk about the opportunities and challenges of technology in the fitness industry. This session is actually sponsored by our official media partner, Listen 360, and our host, Chantal Broadwick, who will be broadcasting 12 different sessions over the course of about 3 months following the Technology Summit. Now, as we kind of move forward here and chat about what's happening next, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Todd Tweedy. I'm your moderator and co-host of the 5th Annual Motionsoft Technology Summit. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm glad you could join us here today. But I'm hoping, actually, you're going to join us in Washington, D.C. on October 3rd through 5th for the 5th Annual Motionsoft Technology Summit. We've got a couple of really interesting speakers and topics in mind for you, but let me start with the theme. Our advisory board this year that includes Excel Fitness, Planet Fitness, EOS Fitness, has come up with a very interesting theme on convergence and specifically integrating marketing, IT, and sales and creating memorable member experiences. Now, a couple of different things this year. Our opening keynote is actually going to be Jim Worthington, who is the owner of the Newtown Athletic Club and is actually our new URSA board chair. Joining Jim will be Francesca Schuler and actually John Roberts, who's their CIO at InShape Health Clubs. They're going to be discussing collaboration. And really, as we kind of take this theme to the next level, how do you implement it? And you're going to really get an interesting dynamic between Francesca and John and how they interact as executives to drive digital initiatives through an organization. But first, if we could, I just want to make sure that everyone is comfortable asking questions and using the control panel interface. So if you could please just type a little note inside of the interface, and maybe if you could just type Katie. Let me just check and see how we're doing. Awesome. Clearly you guys know how to use the tool. Thank you very much. All right. So as we started to think about this notion of facilitating and deepening member experiences, I think one of the most important aspects that we need to think about is how do you gain customer feedback? Well, that's why we brought Katie Bossy in from Listen 360 to help us kind of map through that exact process. And without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Katie to help you with best practices on gaining member feedback. Katie, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Todd, and thank you to everybody on the call today. It's such a pleasure to be here. We're so excited as we gear up for the Motionsoft Tech Summit this October. We'll be in attendance and are very much looking forward to hopefully seeing many of you in person in October. As Todd said, I am with Listen 360. We are a member feedback and reviews management company. And I'm here today to talk about some of our learnings over the past 10 years in business as we've worked with over 5,000 fitness clubs and studios to help them gather feedback from members and really use that data every day in their businesses. So I'm here to present some high-level, very distilled best practices for you guys, hopefully that you can take back to your businesses today and put into action in order to help you guys assess the overall member experience and to continually deliver a superior experience every day. So when we talk about the value of gathering member feedback, we always like to start with this super simple question, which is, are you delivering on your brand promise? So we all get up every day and we think about what we hope to achieve, and we have an ideal and a goal in mind for the service that we want to deliver, for what we hope to accomplish in our businesses, which is super important. It's very important to have that understanding and to have those goals ourselves. But it's also very important to understand from your member and your customer's point of view if that experience that you're providing lives up to what your hopes are for the overall experience. Are your customers and your members receiving the great service that you hope to put forth? So I took a look in preparation for this presentation at the mission and vision statements for many of the brands that we work with. And it won't surprise you at all to see so much consistency across the board with health and fitness businesses as they look to really address superior member service and member engagement. So you can see on your screen the vision statement from California Family Fitness. They talk about wanting to provide a fun, friendly environment, a convenient, clean, state-of-the-art experience. Planet Fitness talks about a diverse, judgment-free zone, a safe, energetic environment. O2 Fitness hopes to provide several high-level ideals, a welcoming, motivating, clean, professional environment for every member. And you can see some common themes and trends that come up. Who wouldn't want to spend 3 or 4 hours a week or even multiple hours a day in a business that's friendly and fun and state-of-the-art and really just superior across the board? We all would love that. Sounds fabulous. The question is, do your members agree that the experience that you're providing is all of these things? And do your managers, your trainers, your instructors, your stakeholders, your prospective members also agree? So I always like to show this slide. This is one of my favorite visuals to kind of explain a phenomenon that we see very often at Listen 360. I know that this probably doesn't apply to anybody on this call, but there very often is a disconnect between what we believe to be a superior experience that we're providing and the impression that our end users or end customers have. The results on the screen come from a study conducted by a consulting firm called Bain & Company back in the 90s. And Bain interviewed about 360 businesses across different industries. When they asked the executives on the management teams at those 360 businesses, 80% believed that they provided a superior customer experience across the board. When Bain interviewed the customers of those same 360 businesses, what they discovered was that only 8% of those customers agreed that the experience that they received was superior. So you can see there is a gap, there's a delivery gap here, and this is very common. We have these very high-level goals and dreams, and we really work in our own ways, in our own lives to deliver this experience, but we really need to engage our customers and members in order to make sure that they're experiencing what we hope they're experiencing every day. And that brings me to our first best practice for gathering member feedback in your health and fitness business. So again, we've worked with about 5,000 clubs and studios in boutique, big box, everything in between, multi-location, single location. We've really amassed a lot of data around how to most effectively gather data from members and feedback and how to put that to work in your brand every day. So this first best practice is to ask for feedback, listen to that feedback, and follow up with your members. So there are a lot of ways to go about gathering member feedback. I'm sure you guys are familiar with many of the options out there. There's comment cards, there's one-off email surveys, there's automated processes for soliciting feedback. There's a ton of different approaches out there. What I'd like to present today is an approach called the Net Promoter Methodology. And this is the feedback methodology that we use at Listen 360, but this concept is not at all unique to our system. This is a methodology that was developed by that same consulting firm I mentioned a minute ago, Bain & Company, back in the 90s. And this came out of that decade-long research study that they conducted across thousands of businesses. And it really is a very well-tested, well-vetted way to gather feedback. It's extremely elegant. We love it at Listen 360 because it's extremely easy to implement. You can go back to your club or studio today and start using the Net Promoter approach. It's easy for you, your teams, and for your members, and it provides really valuable member feedback in addition to great high-level insights around the likelihood of your individual business to grow. So this approach consists of asking your members 2 super simple questions. Members are first asked how likely they would be to recommend your service to a friend on a 0 to 10 scale. You can obviously see on the screen what this looks like. You've probably been asked this question many times in surveys you've received. And then we always recommend asking one open-ended follow-up question in conjunction with that 0 to 10 question to understand why a member provided the score that they did. So it's extremely straightforward. It takes very little time for somebody to engage with you in this way. You get that number representation of somebody's experience with you, and you also get these great comments that help you understand the reason for their score. Cut straight to the chase, doesn't take very much time at all. With this approach, you get these thoughtful, relevant comments from members about their overall experience, and the score that they initially provide allows you to calculate what's known as the Net Promoter Score for your overall business. This score is calculated on a 200-point scale and indicates the likelihood that your business will grow and profit in the future. It's a super helpful benchmark as you continue to make changes in the way that you run your business operationally. You can track your score through time to monitor your progress. You can compare to industry averages to see where you stand. It really helps to gather more data about the overall performance of your brand and your business, in addition to this great one-on-one engagement with individual members. So you can see on your screen, the score is calculated based on the percentage of your members that respond to that question with a 9 or a 10. They're very likely to recommend their experience, minus the percentage of your detractors who responded with a 0 to a 6. We recommend continuously and on an ongoing basis asking for this feedback. So I know a lot of you probably have started doing some surveying and potentially have done maybe a more comprehensive survey when you've needed some data. We really recommend using this super straightforward approach. It's very simple, so you can do this more frequently throughout the year. It's not a huge time commitment for members. But we recommend asking for feedback every 90 days based on an experience that a member has with you. So they sign up, they tour for the first time, they've come in for a workout if they're a current active member. You're able to gather this information in conjunction with an experience someone has with you. So the experience is really fresh in their minds, the responses are really relevant, and you get that very current feedback about the experience you're providing. Timeliness is important when it comes to soliciting feedback, but it's also really important as you respond to feedback that comes in. We recommend responding to every detractor, that's anybody that rates a 0 to a 6, within 24 to 48 hours. So obviously, sometimes it can be uncomfortable to get negative feedback, but we always like to remind our clients that negative feedback is really a gift. It's an opportunity to hear privately and directly from your member. And in a lot of cases, the information provided, even if it's hard to hear, will really help you build a better brand and build a better business every day. So we recommend trying to keep that perspective, viewing this feedback as a gift, following up as quickly as you can. And hopefully you'll have the opportunity to turn somebody around before they post something negative online, before they cancel their membership, or before they never come back. I did find a really great quote from Ursa on this topic. They recently published a report that included the following, which says, reaching out to a member, whether by phone, email, text, or social media, more than doubles the likelihood that they will be a promoter in the future rather than a detractor. So it can be essential for your retention strategy and for your overall ability to delight your member base and to drive new membership, to have these conversations privately and quickly and hopefully resolve as many of those issues as you can. That brings me to the second best practice, which is to track and measure performance. This is another reason we love Net Promoter methodology. It is so easy to track and measure your performance through time. And I'm sure you will have all heard the old adage that what gets measured gets done. This is where NPS really starts to shine, and this pays off in a number of ways as you start to gather feedback. The first way that this really lends itself to tracking and measuring performance is the ability that you and your teams have to hold management accountable in the business. Everybody knows that frontline teams, from the front desk staff to your trainers to employees that support members throughout the day at your business, those people are really the #1 driver for member loyalty. So we really want to ensure that your team not only understands the value of creating a culture around member experience, but that they're really dedicated to participating. So we've got lots of great examples from our existing clients around how they use Net Promoter to hold their teams accountable. One of our great clients, American Family Fitness, has a monthly general manager meeting. And the executive team at the brand has individual meetings with the GMs and reviews their Net Promoter progress through time. And then they also have meetings where they review everybody's Net Promoter score across the 9 locations that they manage. So everybody in the room knows the scores, and it really kind of creates a little bit of competition in the business in a great way to kind of keep everybody really focused on that service delivery, and to understand the importance behind raising that score, which directly translates to each club's ability to profit in the long term. So sharing that at general manager meetings can be a huge incentive. We also have clients that publish this on a monthly or quarterly basis for the entire company to see, especially in multi-location brands. This can be a very compelling bit of data to present and to have everybody kind of looped in on. So you really have that visibility when you've got this metric. You have a score that reflects, this super important statistic for each location, or if you've got a single location, you can track that progress through time very easily to see how things are changing. If things are not changing in the way that you'd like, you can drill into those comments, that actual feedback, to see why that might be. The Net Promoter approach also really enables you to praise your staff for doing a great job. So you can really take a look operationally from a high level to see how things are going. You can also very easily identify team members that are just delighting members. This goes such a long way for morale, to be able to say, indisputably, this member mentioned your name in this comment and said that you really made their day. So I always like to remind people that the vast majority of feedback that you get will be positive. If you're not already gathering feedback, it can be a little daunting to imagine, and many of our clients are concerned about negative feedback. There will always be negative comments. There will always be more positive than negative. So you'll have this great well of data to be able to share with teams. We have clients that post weekly instructor highlights or staff member highlights on like an internal Facebook page or an internal facing portal. It's a great way to highlight somebody doing a really good job. Again, you have that verbatim from a member you can point to. Many of our clients consider Net Promoter Score as they award, their clubs or team members at the end of the year, just kind of acknowledging folks for a great job. You've got this indisputable data that you can use to do so. It really gets everybody across the board involved in a culture of excellence. And our most successful clients really have done that. They've created a culture around NPS. They've involved every member of the team in creating that culture, which is really just essential for accountability, but also for buy-in. For really kind of getting everybody on the same page and passionate about delivering a superior experience to every member. Predicting future business performance is another great way to use your Net Promoter data and your member feedback. Because loyal members drive profit, NPS is a direct predictor of future business growth. So the more happy members recommending you, the more happy members you have bringing in their friends, telling people about their great experience in person and online, they're posting reviews, they're spending more money with you, they are directly driving growth. And one of the best benefits of this methodology that we're seeing more and more often is that businesses are using this metric to demonstrate to investors or potential franchisees or potential partners how well the business is performing. So we've got some great examples from some of our clients in this space as well. The Little Gym, for example, is a 300 location franchise brand. They provide gymnastics and other classes for children. They have validated the correlation between Net Promoter Score and location revenue. And this is one of many franchise brands that we work with that has done the very same thing. So it seems at first glance like common sense, but having this data quantified allows the Little Gym to provide evidence of their performance to prospective franchisees. And who doesn't want to buy into a system that is really poised to grow substantially? And that's what Net Promoter does. It takes a look at future business performance and is really an indicator of what's coming, as opposed to your EBITDA numbers, your profit and loss. All of those financial metrics are great information about what's happened. NPS really speaks to what's coming down the line. Another great example of this same kind of thing is our client I9 Sports. They're a children's sports league franchise. They've got 144 locations. And you can see from this chart that the locations with the highest net promoter score also have the highest net profit. I9 also uses NPS as one of the key evaluation criteria when they award existing franchisees new territories. So obviously, if a territory or franchisee has a net promoter score of 90, they're clearly doing something so right. They've got great practices in place. They're driving growth. Who wouldn't want to award that person more territories to help the brand continue to grow? If someone's score is not quite at that level, it's a good opportunity for coaching. Same thing within your own business. If you've got a single location, you can very easily take a look at your NPS again and drill down into the data if it's not where you want it to be. Whereas if you obviously have a very high score, that really gives you great information and insight about what's setting you apart from the competition and helping you drive new members in the door. So it's really about building credibility and trust with really anybody that you need buy-in from investors to partners to even team members that you may want to bring on board. The third best practice for using feedback in your business is to gain insight to take action. And I love to talk about this part of the puzzle because it really starts to get real in your own business. When you've gathered this data, you've really started to act on it, you're listening to your members, you're learning about their experience with you. You've got great nuggets that you can put in place in your own business to consistently improve. So a lot of what we've discussed so far is really more related to the one-to-one relationship between a business and a member. But your feedback database will obviously grow, and you'll start to see these common themes and trends start to pop up in the responses. And I'm sure that you, like me, always have more things to work on than you have time to do. So it's great to have this insight to help you prioritize and really, dedicate your time and energy and resources to the things that are going to make the most measurable impact on your members. So you will all, if you're already gathering feedback, you know this. If you haven't started this process in any way yet, you will all start to see very individual feedback come through and really, you can very easily hone in the things that really make sense in your particular gym or studio. But as we looked at Listen 360 across all of our clients over the past decade, we've got millions and millions of responses that we've processed. We wanted to take a look at the health and fitness industry overall and start to understand how we could recommend prioritizing different things in the health and fitness community for our clients. So we used a model called the Kano model in looking at our data. And this is just a method of classifying member preferences into 3 categories. So I'm going to walk through with you these different 3 categories that we've created at Listen 360 based on the data that we've gleaned to help you understand how you can prioritize your time again and your spend, focusing on the areas that are going to have the most impact on your business. So the first category of responses are called barriers. So barriers are really the absolute bare minimum expectation. If this is something that if you do it really, really well, it's not going to really have an impact on your overall loyalty in a positive way because people expect it. But if you don't do it well, people are going to notice and it's going to have a negative impact on member loyalty. So a great example of a barrier would be a clean bathroom. If you have a clean bathroom, nobody's going to go run to Facebook and say, oh my gosh, I love my gym, the bathroom is so clean. It's not a driver of really positive feelings about an experience. But if the bathroom is dirty, people are not going to feel so good about that. It's a definite red flag. So the top 5 barriers that we've identified across all of the data that we've amassed include issue resolution, which makes sense. If you are resolving issues, then that's not going to cause somebody to jump for joy. But if you're not, that's a big problem. Temperature. If it's too hot or too cold, people are going to notice. If it's not, they're not going to have any awareness of that at all. Bathroom cleanliness we talked about. Communication. People expect communication to be easy, and they will notice if it's poor. And number 5 is odor. Obviously, if the gym smells like nothing, nobody's going to have a second thought about it. But if it smells bad, they will notice. So those are the top 5 barriers that we've identified across the board. You will start to notice these things coming up in your own feedback that would qualify for this category. And we recommend really focusing first on these barriers, these bare minimum things that you've just got to meet the mark. It's not going to cause people to totally fall in love with your brand, but it is going to keep you from having an overall negative experience within your member base. The next category within the feedback responses are key drivers, and key drivers work both ways. If you do something really, really well in this category, people are going to notice and it's going to impress them and they're going to become more loyal. If you do something that's not so great in this category, say, for example, the quality of a Group X class is not up to par and somebody's dissatisfied, it will have a negative impact. So these are things that you really have to hit in order to keep people measurably more loyal and to keep them from becoming less loyal. So again, quality of a Group X class is a great example in this category. If somebody leaves and they've just had the best yoga class of their life and they're totally relaxed, that is going to increase their loyalty. Whereas if it was a disaster and the instructor was 10 minutes late and felt disjointed or whatever it may be, that will cause someone to drop in loyalty and they will become at risk. So the top 5 key drivers in the fitness industry based on our data include variety of equipment. So obviously you want to have a nice healthy variety and people will be delighted if they've got lots and lots of different things to try. And if there's a limited availability, that would cause a negative experience. Cleanliness. Your employees and staff. Employees and staff, I'll mention too, is very, very common in this category. People have the ability to totally send a member, over the cliff in terms of loyalty and happiness and satisfaction, and they totally have the ability to have the opposite impact. So that's a huge one. Classes and workouts we've talked about, and overall facility. The last category are delighters. So these are themes that people have reported as kind of wow factors. So something that is totally unexpected that really, really increases the overall likelihood that someone would be to recommend their experience. If you don't do something like this, it's not going to have a negative impact on your member base because they didn't expect it in the first place. But if you do it, it can really help to kind of put the cherry on the sundae and delight people and take them to the next level. So we've got some great examples of delighters that I love to share. One of our yoga studio clients discovered in their feedback that many students felt uncomfortable receiving hands-on assistance from instructors. So that was just something that kept coming up. It's obviously awkward to have that conversation with a teacher to say, please don't, help me. But they were sharing that in the feedback, and it was common enough that the studio really took some time to evaluate how they could address it. And what they ended up doing was putting a basket of stones at the entrance of the yoga studio, and they just simply instructed their students, if you don't want any hands-on assistance in class today, just put a stone on the corner of your mat. So it was so simple. It saved these students from having to have this awkward conversation in front of everybody in the studio, and they also didn't have to have that hands-on assistance that also made them uncomfortable. So it just totally delighted members, and they saw their net promoter scores rise significantly as a result. So that's a great example. Another great example from one of our clients are basically random acts of kindness. And these can be really just any kind of surprise. So acknowledgement of a birthday, a card or a free shake in a locker, a t-shirt or a water bottle randomly when somebody comes in for a workout, just to say thanks for being a member. Many of our clients have reported that they use a very small budget for things like this, and it can really, really fascinate people just to get this totally unexpected surprise. We have another client that will randomly, after a Group X class, pop in and give everybody a Starbucks gift card, $5 Starbucks gift card, just for being a member, to say thanks. So you don't have to have a huge budget for this. You could even just write a handwritten card to somebody. Just the simple act of surprising people can have a very, very dramatic impact on loyalty. And within our data, we've seen the top delighters, there's 3, are unexpected giveaways, which we just talked about, plenty of variety, when it comes to classes, programming, you know, machinery or equipment that people didn't expect. And then lastly, fun. Fun events, fun programs, fun messaging, a sense of community really helps to send people, you know, totally over the edge when it comes to being delighted by the experience at your facility. The final best practice is to empower your members to recommend you. We're so lucky in the health and fitness space because members typically love to talk about the fact that they're going to the gym. I always talk about the fact that I've worked out. I post on Instagram, I post photos of my friends. People like to brag about their fitness experience. It's great, it makes us feel good, and it's, you know, something that we like to focus on. So, you know, this is a great opportunity while someone is engaged in the process of providing feedback to ask for a public review to help with online reputation. So I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir with this group, talking about the value of reviews. But I like to show this example. This is a screenshot from Google Maps of an area really close to my home. And you can see there's literally multiple fitness options within the same complex, you know, feet from each other. This is a super crowded market. We all know that. It's very competitive, and it's essential to stand out online where prospective members are looking for a place to work out or looking for a fitness class in order to get more members in the door. So the stats on your screen came from a 2017 consumer review study conducted by a company called Bright Local. And you can see, obviously, it's essential to not only keep your star ratings high online, but also to have really recent reviews in order to build credibility. So 31% of consumers will spend more on average with a business that has awesome reviews, and 70% of consumers believe that a review older than 3 months is no longer relevant. So it's really not enough to just have a great star rating anymore. You really need to keep that content coming and keep those reviews really fresh and recent. We all know that unhappy members will find a place to grind their axe. You don't have to ask. They're going to find a place to post about a negative experience online. So what's important is to ask for reviews. This is obviously a statistic that kind of was shocking to me when I discovered it. 80% of businesses aren't asking. And you can really easily leverage the fact that you're already engaged in a conversation when you're, you know, soliciting feedback. That's an experience that somebody's already in with you. It's a great opportunity to include this request for a review. So we put some data together based on our experience here at Listen 360. Many of our clients are using an automated process to solicit reviews in conjunction with feedback. So the chart on your screen shows the impact on the total number of reviews posted on our clients' Google pages. The black bar represents the 12-month period prior to implementing an automated review solicitation process, and the orange bar represents 12 months after implementing an automated review process. And we looked at this kind of comparison across 12,000 active locations. So what we discovered was that 4 times more reviews were generated with automation. So obviously, you know, if you're just starting out and you're thinking about implementing comment cards, this may be down the line for you. And it's just something to keep in mind. If you have an automated way of asking for reviews in conjunction with the feedback process, that really makes it easy for your team and for your members to get this content out there and really to help you guys stand out online and to build that credibility. What we found for our large multi-purpose fitness clubs was that this increase in review content overall translated into an increase in the average star rating from 3.2 to 4.4. So it can have a dramatic increase on the star rating that each page has as well. Like I said, unhappy members will find a place to post. It's just not as ingrained in your happy members to go out and do this for you. It's just, you know, not totally well known yet. It's not totally common practice, you know, for somebody to really kind of sing your praises publicly and to remember to do that. I'll also mention that it's important to ask for reviews and to really hopefully engage your happy promoter members to do this for you. But to track or follow up also really lends itself to the overall credibility that you're able to build online. If you're following up internally with detractors, our hope for sure is that you can turn them around and save that business, but also that you can keep them from posting that negative experience or negative comment anywhere publicly. They have an internal forum that they can use to share their concern and to voice that to you privately. So to sum up, I always like to remind clients and friends in the industry that feedback is really more than simply following up on a one-on-one basis with unhappy members. That's a super important practice. We absolutely encourage all of our clients to do that. But used appropriately, your feedback can really help you validate that overall members perceive your brand the way that you want them to. And that will just keep the loyalty chain coming. That will drive new members. That will really help you guys stand out when it comes to online reputation, when it comes to word of mouth. We really encourage using feedback as an issue resolution venue, but also really to help you guys tweak the way that you position your marketing and tailor your ops processes to really support the experience that you want to provide every member. So I really hope that these 4 practices and our customers' real-world experiences were helpful today, and I hope that you can take some of these practices home and put them to work in your business. Honestly, my best recommendation when it comes to feedback is just to start. If you've not started gathering feedback, it can be super, I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Many of our clients are very nervous about what they're going to hear. But take it from me, you're going to get a ton of really positive feedback. The negative feedback that you get will help you consistently build a better brand, and really your entire business will be better for the process. So get out there, start asking for some feedback, and see how the changes really unfold in your business every day. Thank you all so much for your time.
Katie, thank you so much. And hey, attendees, this is your chance. This is your chance to pose questions, to gain some insights from Katie, who's been doing this for a long time, as you can tell, and has some pretty interesting insights. And we're going to jump right into questions here in a second. But again, please use the question interface inside of the control panel to pose your questions and submit them now. I'm going to go ahead and get started with a question from Reggie. Katie, Reggie writes, what are some of the simplest, best ways to automate reviews?
That's a great question. The best way to automate review requests would be to have an automated process for soliciting feedback. So we really recommend, incorporating that review request into the feedback process, because again, somebody's already engaged with you. It's kind of in the same flow. It's not multiple asks for different things. It's kind of one conversation. So, if you're already doing something like comment cards, or you're, manually maybe sending surveys via email, maybe check into a process that would allow you to automate feedback, maybe in conjunction with your CRM system and integration that would allow you to gather feedback and reviews automatically through the same process.
And thank you, Reggie, for your question. Katie, I've got another question from our attendees today. Alex is asking, Katie, do you find in-club engagements between staff and members is still the best way to improve on retention?
It's certainly a very important piece. It can be very hard for internal teams to remember to consistently ask for feedback. And they've got so much going on and so many responsibilities that we recommend using another process to really exclusively focus on gathering feedback, and then involving your teams in the resolution of feedback, involving your teams in seeing all of the great comments that come in from members, so that their experience in the club with members on a daily basis is richer. They can really reference people's comments. They can have in-person conversations if they know somebody's feedback has come through and they weren't super happy about something. That engagement with staff is absolutely vital, but in terms of being the primary method for gathering feedback, we recommend that you kind of take that offline in terms of, focusing elsewhere, using a process or another system to help you generate that data, and then involving your team from that point.
Awesome, thanks, Katie. Hey, Katie, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to ask you a question kind of related to Reggie's questions around automation and Alex's question concerning interactions between staff and members. And specifically,
Mhm.
what are some of the best ways for us to engage our instructors to deepen relationships with the brand?
That's a great question. So we recommend sending or asking for feedback, sending a request for feedback in conjunction with an experience, which in many cases is a class, and to have the ability to associate an instructor with feedback. So this is something obviously that through an automated process is super easy. When we work with clients, we automate the process to send a survey based on a class or check-in, and we always bring across the name of the salesperson if it was, a tour, or a class, an instructor if somebody took a class. But also just to get your instructors kind of involved in the process, it can be really important to let them know what's going on, to share with them, hey, we're really invested in getting member feedback. Maybe at the end of the class say, hey, you're going to get an email, or stop at the front desk and fill out a comment card, to involve them in the process of soliciting feedback in that way. Because obviously people really, in most cases, love their instructor and really trust them. And it can be a good way to help you guys gather more data as to involve them in that process.
Let me, if you don't mind, a follow-up on that topic.
Absolutely.
Cool. And specifically, so, sometimes general managers are a little bit reluctant to have staff kind of be the public-facing persona of the brand. How do we talk to general managers to get them to understand the relationship importance between the instructor and the member, so that we can generate more feedback from our members that are coming to classes or just coming to the club?
What I'll say is that across the board, when we've seen the most success in this process of gathering and using feedback, the culture of gathering feedback and focusing on member experience is top down. So the owner or franchisor or executive at each business is bought into Net Promoter methodology, is totally invested in this process, and that translates down through the organization. And it can be uncomfortable, I'm sure, for general managers in some cases, but this process is really not about an individual. To your point, it's not about one person being the face of a brand. It's really not about one person taking full responsibility for every experience across the board. It's a team effort, and the Net Promoter approach really focuses on the overall experience that someone has with the business. We're asking, how likely would you be to recommend XYZ business to a friend? Not how likely were you to recommend John's performance today. It's really about that overall experience, and it encompasses so much. So I think, it's really about getting the whole team involved and invested in the process. It comes from the top, and it's just simply a focus on a culture of superiority in terms of that member experience, of totally delighting every person that comes through the door, and that's not one person's responsibility, it's the whole team's responsibility.
What do I do with customer feedback? I mean, where do I post it? Is it on the website? Do I summarize in a newsletter quotes about new classes? How do you take the comments that you're getting, and how do you leverage them in your business to drive more revenue?
Love it. Great question. So obviously internally, you can look at these high-level themes that are coming up again and again in the data. When themes are not positive, if there's things that people are not happy about, you keep that data internal, and you can distribute it to your internal team. You can have meetings to discuss how you can devote more resources to improving different areas of the business. When the feedback is very positive, you've got this kind of built-in testimonial generation process, and you've got all of this great data, and it's primarily great. I've said it 5 times, I'm gonna say it again. Primarily, you're gonna get great positive data that you can publish to your website, that you can publish to different hosted testimonial pages and search results to help you guys stand out online and to build that trust and credibility in search results. You can display internally positive comments. We've got clients that print out testimonials and place them like in break rooms or in the back end, the back room where the staff congregates most often. If you have an internal intranet or portal, you can stream testimonials to the portal to keep everybody really focused on all the great work that they're doing. You can post Net Promoter Score in a portal to help everyone stay in touch. Or if you have a system, a net promoter based system, you can let everyone in your organization have access to the data to stay in sync with members that they're responsible for, to see the change in NPS through time, and to keep those comments top of mind as well.
Let me circle back on the data point for a second, and I'll kind of just stop myself here because I'm kind of excited by this topic. I want to keep asking you a bunch of questions, but I want to keep our attendees engaged here. So again, attendees, please, if you could, submit your questions using the question interface inside of the control panel here, and you can pose your questions to Katie, who is actually going to be presenting at the Motionsoft Technology Summit on a session called Data Innovations in the Fitness Industry. And I think what's kind of interesting is this whole notion of being competitive. But the challenge is we're complicating things with so much data, and it just gets more and more and more. How are your customers managing this influx of comment data that's coming into their organization, and what are your recommendations for how you manage that information flow?
So the way we recommend setting the system up, if you have a single location business, what we do is build a single dashboard for data, and you can have as many people have access to it as you'd like. Multi-location brands, we set up an executive portal and then drill down into regional, territory, or location level dashboards based on the hierarchy of your brand. And it really varies by business. In many cases, the executives at the business have overarching visibility across all data, but the primary responsibility is typically at the location level with the general manager, a customer success manager, member success manager. If somebody's already kind of responsible for issue resolution in the business, it's a great opportunity to really help them do their job better. It's not necessarily, another thing for them to do if it's already part of their responsibility to serve members and to deal with issues that come up. It's a more organized way to do so. So we recommend that, anybody responsible for issue resolution has access to feedback. And that, it's very simple and straightforward on a daily basis for folks to log in, see the comments that have come through, and act on them appropriately. And many of our clients already have processes set up in their businesses that, focus on this, like I mentioned, and this really just becomes more of like a checklist and just kind of a new way to organize. Obviously, folks that are engaging with members on a daily basis really want to know what's going on with those members. They don't want to be caught off guard in person by somebody who's got this big issue or something going on. So it can be very helpful for your frontline staff to have access to this information, and really helps them do their job.
So I know one of our attendees is looking at a potential client engagement after Labor Day. And I'm curious, as they're considering automation tools to help with gathering member feedback, how do clubs work with Listen 360?
So we work through an integration with the club management system used by our clients. And we essentially pull data on their behalf based on who's checked in to a facility or who's participated in a class. So it really kind of takes the whole sending the survey piece of the puzzle out of the equation for our client. We've built that into the back end of the CRM system like Motionsoft. We can pull that data and trigger surveys to go out at the appropriate time automatically. So really it just becomes a matter of seeing the data as it comes back in. It's all relevant and recent. It's tied to an engagement that members have had. We work with our clients to customize timing and frequency of sending surveys, of course, and of the look and feel of the survey. But that process is handled by us and by the CRM provider. And we pace things out so that when a client gets started with Listen 360, it's not like every single member gets a survey day one and there's a fire hose of data. We are very strategic in the way that we deploy surveys, so it's very cadenced and balanced through time, and provides just kind of a steady stream of information throughout the member's journey and the overall lifetime of the business.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Hey, I've got a follow-on question from Alex. Alex asks, do you think clubs should have staff or repurpose existing staff that are dedicated to member service satisfaction in order to effectively respond to member feedback?
You do not. Oh, sorry, Todd, go ahead.
Oh, no. You already got it. I just wasn't sure if I needed to paraphrase anything there.
No, that makes perfect sense. And you really do not need to hire an individual person in most cases. I mean, if you've got 60 locations, I would maybe recommend that you have a member success manager or some role at the corporate office. But for most businesses, it's not necessary to hire someone to exclusively dedicated to managing feedback. Like I mentioned, we really focus on a really gradual, steady cadence of feedback that comes through. So it's not a fire hose of data every 3 months. It's very even and balanced. And typically, again, somebody in the club is already dealing with issues, and this just becomes a more organized kind of checklist. Essentially, when negative feedback comes through, it's very easy for folks to parse through that data and to follow up appropriately.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And attendees, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, you can meet Katie in person at the Motionsoft, the 5th annual Motionsoft Technology Summit in Washington, D.C. on October 3rd through 5th. Again, Katie's session is going to be on data innovations in the fitness industry, and she'll be joined by Troy Free, who's the CIO of EOS Fitness, who will be moderating that session. But in the meantime, Katie, thank you so much for your time today and kind of giving us a flavor for maybe how we need to be looking at best practices and gathering member feedback. It's been a pleasure having you on our webinar to kick off the 2018 session.
Thank you so much, Todd, for having me. Thanks to the whole Motionsoft team. We're so excited for the summit. And to everybody who attended, thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you all very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Hey, and I'm hoping we'll see you in Washington, D.C. on October 3rd through 5th for the 5th annual Motionsoft Technology Summit. You can learn more by visiting motionsofttechnologysummit.com. Have a great day.